Hi, welcome to a session that is dedicated to higher education in India. I'm going to share with you my thoughts on the past, the present, and the future of higher education as an area of activity. About 15 years ago, the only thing that you needed to qualify to be in higher education, whether it is running an engineering college or a dental college or a medical college or a management school, was that you are able to get a license by virtue of anything, your proximity to a political organization or anything like that. And then you needed a lot of money of various hues and colors to set up the right infrastructure. And then, until your business of education began to throw up enough operating income, you needed to have the staying power. So, license, infrastructure, and staying power determined who was active in higher education on the private side and who did not. There's no room for competence, no room for anything else, because license Raj was what in place. The era changed maybe about 15 years ago to what I call as the second era, second generation of higher education in the post-independent India. What happened now was that you had enough supply of higher education players and the students began to have a choice. So, the first generation of competition set in, and the outcome on which the institutions were measured or ranked was placements. How good is the placement? Which companies are coming? What are the salaries that are being offered? And so on. So, this era created the first fallout or disruption wherein all those institutions that were reasonably professional, they graduated to the next era where the input was admissions and the output was placements. All the things that you would do, the conventional marketing program through newspapers, subscribing to the competitive exams like whether it is an IIT JEE or a law exam or a medical exam, a campus, good faculty members, etc. Those were determining the outcomes, and the final outcome on which you are measured was placements. That era continued for as long as maybe a couple of years ago. There was a disruption that happened in a management school education about 5 years ago. About last 3-4 years, a lot of engineering colleges are ghost campuses because the new era has arrived. And this era is going to continue for the next 20 years, if you ask me. This era is not just about placements. It is not just about managing the rankings through placements by doing this and that in various surveys of rankings. Now it's the real global era. The borders will vanish. And all the institutions now will have to fend for themselves in a competitive world where you are going to compete with globally ranked institutions. So, the next era has begun, and this is a message that I have for all the owners, chancellors and vice chancellors of universities and large colleges today who have an aspiration to be something worthwhile, something that is respected as an education brand, institutional brand, to worry about for the next 15 years. In the next era, the outcome on which you're going to be measured is the global rankings. And the input on which you will have to count to get to that output is going to be high quality students, not just any warm walking body. So, what are the 3 or 4 critical things that are causing disruption or that will cause greater disruption in the next generation of higher education? To my mind, these are: Number one, research. Higher educational institutions are going to be ranked based on research, the weightage of which is going to be as high as 80 to 90% if you take the frameworks that are used globally. Placements are not even going to be looked at. It is important. It will continue to be important in the Indian context for a while, but that's hygiene. That's not going to make you a disruptor. If you want to be a disruptor and really leapfrog and get ahead of many IITs or new IIMs or law schools, you will have to focus on research. Number two is the entire adoption of your institution into the digital era. Flipped classrooms are a reality today. And you becoming an e-college or an e-versity is not necessarily linked to whether you have a distance learning program or not. If you have a campus of 5,000 students, can you enable on-demand, anytime, anywhere learning for your students, which is available on their phones, laptops, they can study from their dormitories, and the faculty's time is released, as much as 30 to 50% of their time can be released so that they can focus on higher end value adding stuff like research, consulting, and so on. Number three is also the digitally emerging as a brand online and on mobile. Students are no more responding to these expensive advertising that you do in newspapers and magazines. It's a sheer waste of money. On the contrary, can you build engagement models online for your students or for your potential students? Are you a digital brand? Is your website mobile enabled? Do you do remarketing? Do you do retargeting? Do you do events, programs, seminars online? That's going to be extremely important. Number four, most entrepreneurial ventures that are taking place in campuses today are still languishing from the lack of connect that students have with the real world entrepreneurs, angel investors, private equity. Are you a college that is capable of running a business incubator coupled with the research incubator? And can you aim to get half a dozen startup ideas funded on campus? That's going to determine a lot about your competitiveness in the future. Diversity of students, faculty, and diversity of partnerships is another important facet that will gain a lot of prominence. Your students come from how many countries? Do you have faculty members who are on campus here, who have studied abroad, who have taught abroad, and who are global citizens? That's going to determine a lot about your competitiveness. Last but not the least, is there an evidence of strategic vision, 5 to 10 to 15 year perspective planning, and that begins to address your execution strategy for the next 3-year plan for your university? All of these have become very important because the environment, the clouds that are hovering on top of the higher education horizon, they have changed. The clouds of the earlier era, they have gone by. The new ones are talking about borderless world, democratization of technology and technological assets. The entire center of gravity of the world is shifting. India is going to be a very central part of the knowledge world that we are seeing happening. Coupled with the fact that we have a great democratic system, we have a humongous amount of youth that's coming up to the education seeking age. Culturally, education is valued, and you're an English-speaking country. In the last 300 years, perhaps there has not been a better opportunity than this for you to participate in the disruption and the value migration from one part of the world to our part of the world. I hope you're ready for it. all the best. And if you want us to help you with any of this, do write to me at my email ID. I'll be very happy to respond to you and have our team have a chat with you. Thank you very much.